Now, defaulting on a bond repayment can be disastrous for an already cash-strapped consumer, and losing your home becomes a possibility as you run out of options to meet your financial obligations. A Boksburg homeowner whose income was disrupted is one of those who cannot face the prospect of losing a home.
Abaninimzi abaninzi ingakumbi abo bathenga izindlu ngemali eboleke ebhankini bajongene nengxaki. Imeko yoqoqosho yexayo, imivuzo ecuthiweyo kunye nokuphelwa yitorho seyintlalo ethande ukuxhaphaka. UNoluthando Mvelase ngomnye wabantu abakulo meko. Ngo-2020 wathenga indlu ngemali yebhanka, i-home loan lwasemzini. Ngekudala kwafika i-COVID. Emva koko banqunyanyiswa engqeshweni. Ude wacela ibhanka yakhe ukuba imvele kule meko ukumyeka ahlale de imeko yakhe iphucuke. Ngaphezu koko unomntwana okhubazekileyo yaye akanandawo yenye yokuhlala.
Can give me a holiday, ne? Or they can even extend a bond payment. It will be up to them which one they think is like right for me. By reject, but it's either they help me to sell the house or I must go to debt reviews.
Udibhanga imeko lokuba xa imeko yakhe ilolu hlobo kufuneka athengise lendlu okanye acele uncedo lokuhlehlisa ubume bemali yakhe, debt review ngolwasemzini. Wakamvelase uthi akazibona ethengise indlu achithe inkuntyula ilungisa.
Awunoye ebhankini ebranchini mhlambi udishane nomuntu kanye you only do these things telephonically.
Ingxaki ilapho. When you go to the branch, you only speak on the phone. Akho ndawo ebranchini apha kuthiwa njengoba ulapha uzothetha nalaa muntu kuye akukho muntu othetha naye ebranchini, unikwa ifowuni.
Wena ufuna uthetha umuntu ubuzo
Exactly, mhlawumbe uzo-understanda xa sibonana.
Umbaka Noluthando ngomnye wemiba ibhanga ezijongene nayo kule mihla. uTiffany Singh ingcali kwimiba yezindlu ezisindwa ngamatyala uthi ukuthinjwa kwendlu liqondo lokugqibela kwinzame zokufumana intlawulo kumninimzi.
Talk to us and we'll try to help you to make a repayment arrangement to get you through it. If you don't want to speak to us, in the digital age now, we've got a lot of options available on our app, so you can go and help yourself. And then there's like simple things that you can do, lifestyle changes, budgeting, all of those kinds of things on our app.
Ukuphosa inhlawulo yenyanga kwanele. Ukuphosa inyanga eziliqela kwenza nabana ukuba oyike nokusondela kwibhanga yakhe. Ukasing uthi kulapho abantu abaninzi benza impazamo.
It's very stressful, but it's important to realize that you're not alone. That if you contact your bank, we'll actually partner with you and try to help you to get through it. So you shouldn't avoid us. You should actually speak to us.
Ukamvelase uthi akaziboni ithengisa lendlu ingaba xa ethetha ngolhlobo akakho semngciphekweni yokulahlekelwa kakhulu. Kuvisile Mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Ukukhuluma nasi kabanti usingabe lokhu kushoni nethu sifika kanjani ke ekutheni isikhathi lapho sawuthathelwa indlu yakho libhange asesimukele ke kwanda Vabaza lomele ke South African Banking Association siphinde sibe na Dr. Simphiwe Matikizela lo home loan expert. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Siyabulela Nkosi.
Okay, asicela ngayo Dr. Matikizela ukuthi ke in simple terms yini i-foreclosure?
I-foreclosure xa sicacisa lela bakala lokugqibela lobana mhlambi xa umthengi engakhonanga ukuthi abhatale imali afanele ayibhatala for indlu ithuba elide etsibe inyanga ezininzi kuhanjwe umbawo uba amagqwetha angenelele azama ukuthi amlandelele ukuthi abhatale le mali kube khona incwadi ezithunyelwayo ebizwa ngoba yi-section 129 letter of demand ithunyelwe kuye uthola ukuthi mhlambi akho mpendulo okanye kayihoyanga neminxeba ethi tsalwe kuyo i-phone calls ezenziwe ezitsalwayo kwi-customer ekhangelwa kuzanywa indlela yoba abhatale kuyiwe nakwi-summons kukhutshwe nee-summons ezikhutshwayo i-court ezithunyelwe kuye after wonke la matiletile enziwe zonke ezinzame zenziwe ukuthi umthengi lo wendlu axhomana nebhanki xa konke lokho kungaphumelelanga kube impumelelo ke ngoku ibanga lokugqibela ibalilo ukuthi ibhanki ngoku izame ukuthi indlu lena lithengiswe ukuze ukuthi ibhanki ifumane imali yayo ebe iboleke i-customer le i-loan kuba sakhumbula ukuthi i-customer iye ifumane i-loan from ebankini and i-loan kumele ukuthi imali ebolekwayo kumele ukuthi bayibhatale qho ngenyanga ngokwesivumelwano xa ethe ke ngoku akakwazi ke ngoku kuye kuhambe ke kufikelele kweso stage sobana indlu ke ngoku ithengiswe ibhanki izama urecover i-loan yayo ebiboleke i-customer.
Manje nasekufike kulesigaba leso ke Dr. Matikizela ukuthi ibhange ke semele ukuthi lithengise le ndlu lithengisa ngevalue yale ndlu kuleso sikhathi noma lithengisa ke ku recover whatever money that is owed by the consumer.
Lo mbuzo wakho obuzayo ngiyawuthanda kakhulu sine process laphaya a program actually kuthiwa i-quick sell program.
Okay.
Quick sell. I-quick sell program iba earlier, much earlier kwi-process phambi koba kuyiwe kwi-auction. I-quick sell ithi wena uyi-customer ungumthengi kumele uzonikeze ibhanki i-mandate or i-authority or imvume ukuthi ithengise indlu at a market related price, market value. So indlu yakho masithi uyithenge nge-500,000 some years back. Seyikhulile value ya-appreciate over the years. Masithi mhlawumbi ngoku yi-2 million.
Yes.
Yeah, market price yayo, market value yayo. So kwi-quick sell uyavuma ukuthi ibhanki ithengise kwi-market value. So 2 million umzekelo. Then ke ngoku ke wena i-customer uzasettlisha i-balance oyakho ibhanki. Masithi mhlawumbi owisho 400,000 kwibhanki. And then the 1.6 million difference iba imali yakho to the customer. That's what we encourage early in the process. That is quick sell.
Okay.
Mara makuyiwa kwi-auction which is the last stage manje mase auction wa indlu ithengwa even at 60% of the value of the house manje.
Right.
Because kwenziwa i-bargain abantu kwi-auction inglow miss price yakhe kukhali ihamela lapha. That's where they hit the hammer. Omunye athi 200,000. Omnye athi 350 kanjalo kufikele kwi-price kuthiwe 500 is a price kubethwe ihama ithengiswe lapho ngabantu ababhagenayo lapha ibhanki ke ngokunayo ayisena malungelo lapho because seyithengiswa kwi-auction and ithengiswa noba ngubani nakubani onemali offerishayo i-price.
But is it safe to say ukuthi emabhange they're trying to make a profit, not trying to veering off the topic, but they're trying to make profit. Say for instance the bank is owed 100,000 rand.
Yes.
And then if I got auction, then i-reserve price maybe 100,000 rand khona lo munye ke abide 150 200,000 igcine seyifike ku 300,000.
Yes. Yeah. So mandicacise into ukuthi akukho semdleni webhanki ukuthi indlu ithengiswe. Asikho kwi-business yokuthengisa izindlu zabantu sezibhanki.
Yes.
Ibhanki ilekelela abantu ukuthi bathole imali esisibonelelo i-loan ukuthi athenge indlu. Makwenzekile ukuthi ke iyathengiswa ngala reserve price ne. Masikhumbule ukuthi kunamagqwetha kunemali zamagqwetha i-legal fees eziba involved mase ihambe so stage. Ngamanye amaxesha uthola ukuthi ne-rates kumasipala nazo ziya-owishwa yabona. So ayikho ku-interest yethu asigeni even ne-customer nebhanki ukuthi indlu ithengiswe. Mangiyibekele ngokucacileyo. Mabe kuya ngokukwethu bekufanele ukuthi i-customer ithole loan ebhankini ukuthi i-service loan yayo kakuhle iqedwe ibhatale indlu. Ifuna indlu yesibini simnikeze kanjalo ayirentise enze imali. That's how we prefer into zihambe njalo.
Okay.
Yes.
Kwanda, let me also bring you into this conversation. Yini ke ema signs noma ke tinkhomba tekuthi ke indlu is now about to go for foreclosure?
I think, Dr. Besakashila, I think masisifika kwi-stage where umuntu has missed ama-installments akhe and avoided ama-calls from i-bank. I mean, kunantaba ebiza pre-litigation stage. I mean, baziyazama ukukufonela to say, listen, uyaskolota. But because ama-consumers, they avoid those calls, abafuna ukuphendula lama-calls, I'm not sure if they deliberately not wanting to pay or not wanting to enter Guma arrangements with the bank, but they avoid those calls. Then they end up, unfortunately, the bank is then forced to go to now, batate that file by Seguma lawyer, and then our lawyers, then they proceed with the illegal action. Unfortunately, at that point, the account is in arrears, you're not answering AMA calls at bank, AMA lawyers are involved, and it's almost too late now to go to my debt review or to enter Guma restructure agreements, AMA holiday payments, and it's too late. So by that time, unfortunately, chances are hamba unless unless if then you settle all the areas. You settle all the areas plus the costs. The legal fees that have been accumulated because of obviously the lawyers being involved. Then at that point, then you can get in go back. But
are you at all satisfied? It's not their intention but auction reserve pricing 100,000 300,000. So who gets the 200,000? It's the bank, obviously.
No, not necessarily. So in terms of is if for instance, yes, the easy judgment and Yilungelo is declared executable, so it banikeze bank imvume to sell that house. What happens is, court, if it's a primary residence, so indlu la ahlala khona abantu, indlu la ohlala khona nefamily yakho, they must set a reserve price. Nakhona, again, it's different from a secondary landlord or rentisayo to make income. So that one, there is no obligation for a court to set a reserve price. But my primary residence, if they set that reserve price, and let's say in Bekashilo it's worth 300,000, then it's set a reserve price at 150,000. Then the house is sold for 500,000. So a bank will take whatever is owed plus the cost, the legal cost. They will take that money, and then whatever remains, then iyaguwe as a customer. So you get that balance. Yes, iyaguwe as a customer.
Okay.
And I agree with them. Yes, banks are definitely not in the business.
Okay. Gentlemen, I know that, buying a property is a financial investment, but there's also emotions involved too.
Yes.
So if a house is sold and a consumer, a homeowner is being kicked out of the house, so what is it that they fail to realize before they start acting?
Into chaphazelayo ngayo lonke ixesha ebalulekileyo sikhuthaza abantu mabayenze kwa early kwi process xa ubona ukuthi uzaba sengxakini like le clip ebesiyibonile earlier I period ye 2 years yonke leya apho la mama bephelwe ngumsebenzi during COVID and all of that. Into esikhuthazayo kwi customers zethu into bana yiza ngaphambili kwi bank once ubone ukuthi mhlambi nisaw retrenchwa o uzawudendwa emsebenzini okanye uzawuluza umsebenzi okanye uzawukhathwa I salary yakho yabona whatever the case might be very early in the process very early come forward iza ngaphambili ukuthi siyibhanki ebhankini ngidla ngokuthi lonke isikhathi ukuthi ibhanka ayilume ebhankini kunabantu abanjengami nawe abantu yiza ngaphambili ukhulume nathi uchaze imeko yakho ukuthi imeko yami lohlobo sibone ukuthi singakuncedisa kanjani zikhona izibonelelo ibhanki ezenzayo kunama payment holidays esikhona uwenza sijonga imeko ye customer kunama restructuring singayi restructurisha I loan si I repayment si sandisa isikhathi ukuthi imali oyibhatalayo yehle ukwazi si accommodate I circumstances zakho so into abalulekileyo into bana very early in the process yiza ngaphambili kwibhanki ubeke imeko yakho sibone ukuthi kuma instruments esinawo asemthethweni ngawapha singawasebenzisa ukuthi sihlangabezane nawe nesimo sakho mara in practice in reality customers aziyenzi lonto umuntu uyabaleka angabhatali siyamfonela angaphenduli batshintsha iSIM card atshintsha iphone number sibhala ama letters angarespond la process lena ye foreclosure it's a long process. It can take a year. It can take a year and a half. It can even take 2 years because involved in a court. Sometimes the court roll is full. Cases are bakdala. So it's a very long process. So sininzi isikhathi lininzi ixesha ukuthi icustomer ingaza ngaphambili ukuthi silungise lento phambi koba ukuthi imeko ibe serious kakhulu owishe imali eninzi for 2 years because indlu it's a lot of money ebhatalayo a month.
Right.
Mawuza ngabhatali 1 month ungabhatali kuyavakala xa 2 months 3 months it already becomes difficult ukuthi urecoverishe makhuluma ngoma 6 months 9 months a year and a half and 2 years ungabhatali la mali seyingaka with the interest nemali zamagqwetha yabona so it becomes very difficult. Come early so that we work with you. We try and save the home. We find a way ukuthi singenza njani suku accommodate. That's what we encourage customers.
Right.
That's what we're required to do even by law. Njengoba ngisithi ukuthi it doesn't benefit us as a bank to sell somebody's house. We lose because sometimes kumele asiharishe nama security bagade indlu zingavandalizwa we incur more costs. That's not our business. Business yethu ukuthi sibolekise imali kahle umuntu aqualify yabona abhatale kahle yabona imali ayiqede indlu yakhe athole isibini nesithathu arentise enze imali tenants generate income, create an employment for ilizwe lethu. Because ma-extend indlu kuvuleka amathuba emisebenzi yabona. Zonke izinto esizikhuthazayo ezo in practice.
All right.
And people must then heed that call. Basebenzisane nathi. Bangabaleki.
Asishiye khona lapho ke gentlemen. We'll take a quick break now. Mbukeli, asisibambe lapho ke siseshelela ngasatitolo. Please do join us after this break. Welcome back everybody. Tincingo tethu sethuvuliwe ukuthi ke nawe ungaba ingcenye yale nkulumo yethu. Ungasishayela kulicingo khona manje ku 011-714-0690 noma ke ku 011-714-0670. You can email your thoughts to consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungasifela futhi ku Facebook na ku Twitter. Sechubeka futhi nenkulumo yethu namhla ke. Now before that break, you know, we're just discussing ukuthi ke the prevalence of such cases now that etkatsini letimatima for most consumers kunabo post COVID and the cost of living is so high. Have you seen an increase kuma foreclosures?
So I think from our side as the Ombudsman for Banking Services, we have not as yet seen increases in those complaints. And I think the main reason is, like we know, I mean, in 2020, between 2020 and now, I mean, the interest rates were low, and it's only now that they're picking up. So I think the effect, the true effects of this increase, I think will be seen in the months to come. But for now, we definitely have not seen increases. And I think, again, the one thing that we advise in people is that if, again, because of these increases, their home loans and all, then this is the time now to approach the bank to go and inquire from our bank as to our options available to make sure that obviously they either keep their house, if they can't keep their house because of, for instance, they do not have enough to pay for their bonds, and the options are made available to them by a bank, obviously they're not helping them, then it's now that they can sell whilst they're still in control as to how much they want that, obviously they want to sell that house for. Got you. Yeah, but at this point in time, we have not seen any increases.
Okay, all right. Let's take our first caller this afternoon. It's Nasibusisa kulapha eButterworth. Sakumele ehleleni sawubona? Siyaphila kunjani baba?
Siyaphila tatomkhulu.
Khuluma nathi baba. What's on your mind?
Ngifuna ukuzwa ne-comment kaDokho yamagqwetha athi wakubhale amagqwetha abhalile kule-court order oluntutu oyamithi zakubekho nenye kwezibana including na i-phone call that's what ndafonelwa ndaxelelwa kesemsebenzini uba i-auction isiphatho sonke sigcine auction auction ibhodi ezinkulu. It was 2020, ingena ndithenge yona ngo-2010, and then i-term in 20 years. Then lento xa ndibhatala andi-owe ibhenki yonke le nto. Xa ndibhatala if suppose 100%, masikumzekelo 3,000, ndibhatala na i-4,500 ndibhatala ngaphezu kwayo, kodwa ndafika ixhonyiwe phaa ibhodi e-auction. In fact, that if you have people that one has the bag of the training and not the greater any to can indicate of Matanga, my greater in the only way mandate, the bank, and own. In fact, that number of phone, I am the one that two that country.
Okay baba siyabonga kakhulu ke kusishayela ke siyathemba ukuthi ke tinintethu ke titawuzama ukuyiphendula inkinga yakho lapha Dr. Matikizela.
Masibulele ngombuzo wakho noxa i-line yakho ayikho clear kakuhle ayivakali kakuhle kodwa ke indawo endiyivileyo into bana wena uthi azange ufumane ileta esivela emagqwetheni ubhalelwa ngamagqwetha okanye ufonelwe wasuka wabona nje sekuthiwa indlu yakho iyathengisa uba ngibandive kakuhle. Uba ngaba kwenzeke lonto ngohlobo uchaza ngalo ayondlela eright leyo yokwenza izinto ayikho mthethweni lonto akho banki inovela ivuke nje ithi thengisa indlu yakho and xa ndivayo uyachaza ba wena ubhatala ubungekho semva and uchaza nento bana imandate lamagqwetha athengisa indlu athi ayinikwe ibhanki amagqwetha akanalungelo lothengisa indlu eqaleni in the first place. So ngizama ukuthi mangaba ubaba enengxaki enjalo nesikhalazo esinjalo kuvumelekile ukuthi aye ngaphambili kwibank yakhe noba yeyiphi ibhank leyo ayokhalaza kuyo enze complaint afake isikhalazo unelungelo ukuthi afake isikhalazo isikhalazo sakhe siyajongwa ibhanki mangaba engonelisekanga indlela ibhanki resolve ngayo i-complaint yakhe unelungelo ukuthi adlule aye kwi-banking ombudsman aye kwi-ombudsman ayokhalaza khona i-ombudsman ke ngoku izawuthi phande ithethe nebhanki leyo involved kuzanywa ujonga uba kwenzeke ntoni apho i-resolve i-case yakhe and i-ombudsman izawujonga i-case on facts on merit ne-evidence and they will rule in favor of the customer if kuyabonakala ukuthi i-customer kwenziwe into engekho right abuyiselwe izinto zakhe if kunjalo kodwa ayondlela ekusetyenziswa ngayo ngokwami ukwazi kulandelwa i-process ine-legislation umthetho ibhanki nazo ziyaregulathwa ibhanki zi-under i-legislations zi-under umthetho all the laws in the country we have to abide by them, we have to comply. We are big in compliance.
So from the banking perspective, have you seen an increase? There hasn't been really a significant increase in bank, property foreclosures, but from a traditional banking perspective, so foreclosures linyuka?
No. Asikaboni kwa any spike or any increase with foreclosures, not at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all.
So ibhange ke li-assista kanjani ke umuntu nangabe utitfola ukuthi sowusengxakini noma sowusenkingeni ekusuke indlu yakhe seyathengiswa?
So ibhanki iyancedisa kakhulu ngendlela njengoba bengisitsho ukuthi kuyaxhomekeka ukuthi kwesiphi stage into okanye isigaba into esikhuthazayo ukuthi i-customer umthengi makaze ebhankini makaze kwa early xa uze early kunama payment holidays esingakunikeza wona sijonga isimo sakho yabona sithi okay xa imeko yakho ilohlobo usijonga i-case nganye on its merit mara zininzi into esizenzayo sine-repayment holidays esikunikeza khona mawuphelwe ngumsebenzi sijonge i-situation yakho kanti singakwazi ukuthi ingabe yo-repayment holiday senze i-rescheduling of the debt ukuthi mhlambe singenza njani installment yakho lo ibhatalayo yehle ngesinye isikhathi singatshintsha i-interest rate mhlambe ubuka i-fixed rate yona ephakamele iduri uye kwi-variable rate ithobe installment okanye sireschedulishe ityala lakho sine-20-year bond sinayo ne-30-year term si-increase sandise isikhathi izawuthoba i-rate temporarily until ukuthi ube right imeko yakho ibe right yabona depending ukuthi i-situation yakho enjani na sijonga i-case nganye on its merit yabona senze what is best for i-customer at that time kwi-situation yakhona njengoba bengisho ukuthi sinayo ne-quick sell i-quick sell indlu masibonisana ngawo ukuthi uyithengiswe kwi-market value yabona so that you can even downgrade mhlawumbe kwi-4 bedroom uye ku-3 bedroom mhlawumbe uye ku-2 bedroom because kubalulekile ukuthi we must all live within our means kubalulekile loo nto leyo in general so njengoba izinto zinyuka nje interest rates ne-petrol prices zinyuka ama-food prices ne-transport costs zinyuka i-customers under pressure yabona so kumele sizame ukuthi we try and live within our means ukudowngrade there's nothing wrong in downgrading it's actually wise yabona to downgrade yabona then you can bounce back we all want big things big houses but the question is can you afford the big house if you can't afford buy the house that you can maybe in a big stand uzextendela over a period of time
Kwanda i-banking association yona ke iwasita kanjani ama-homeowners la sithetfoleke asekule nkinga lenje?
So last year we actually set Nama Bank, the 4 banks that offer home loans, and we actually had a discussion about repossessions. When do you repossess? And all of them agreed that repossession is the last option. Last option. So like Dr. Ashilo, so there's options that they're availing to our customers. And yes, the options, Dr. like restructure, extending a bond term, and then decreasing installment. Obviously, that thing comes with the total outstanding balance that you're going to be paying will obviously increase. So I think that's the one thing that we've seen. Even during COVID, funny enough, people were assisted with reduced installments, but most people ended up coming back, but complain, but I was never told the total outstanding balance izokhuphuka. So I think that there's sometimes an issue from Bank not explaining properly what
Education.
exactly what will happen must increase term.
Implications.
Exactly. So it's not properly explained.
So in that
But-
case, just to cut you off, in that
Yes.
case, are you able to arbitrate or maybe or maybe leading to a reversal of such a foreclosure
Yes,
as
we-
an association?
Yes, we actually have done that again.
Okay.
So Tina, as an office, umsebenzi wethu is to investigate. If, for instance, a customer comes to our office at, listen, a bank has taken my house and they never followed the process. So we investigate. Letter, Section 129 letter, was it sent to a customer? If yebo, it was sent. Was it sent to address a customer? I know Tile contract.
Okay,
If the answer is no, then that whole process has to be reversed. So then a bank did not follow a proper process. So yes, we've actually made a lot of findings in such instances where banks, we made recommendations which reverse a judgment. So yes.
Okay, so in that case, irreversible judgment, what does it mean? The homeowner continues occupying the property?
Correct.
Okay, under the same terms, or do the terms change?
No. So what happens is, if obviously they took a judgment incorrectly, they never followed the proper process, then what would happen is they would need to take back, maybe rescind that whole judgment. And if, yes, a customer, the homeowner was not paying, then they need to start afresh.
Oh, okay.
With our new proceedings.
Okay.
But again, as a customer, if you are paying and you continue to pay whatever was owing at the time we settle it, then obviously then it can continue, like you said, on the old terms of the agreement. So it reinstates if that old contract.
All right, let's leave it there for now, gentlemen. Your property is facing foreclosure. This program is definitely for you. Please pick up the phone and call us on the numbers on your screens right now. Yilungelo Lakho, stop in this way. Sanukela futhi bekunene, khumbula ukuthi nawe ungaba ingcenye yale nkulumo yethu namhlanje ukushayela licingo ku-011-714-0690 noma ke ku-011-714-0670. Ungasithumela futhi ku-email ku-consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungaphinde uthinte futhi na ku-Facebook. And this show is definitely for you if you are already facing, or if your property is facing foreclosure. Ukuthi ke athini amalungelo akho nabe utitfola usesimeni lesinjalo. Sinakwanda Vabaza ke from the Banking Ombudsman kanye ke na Dr. Simphiwe Matikizela, who is a home loan expert. Now, gentlemen, I want to pick your brain, both of you, on this. The bank's door is always open for consumers and homeowners to come and have a conversation with you, because the banking staff don't bite. But we've always heard reports of hostility by bank staff towards defaulting homeowners. It drives the homeowners away, it drives the consumers away from having a negotiation with you.
Yes. Nalapho ngizawutsho ndithi uba umuntu ukwada urude i-bank staff member xa ukhuluma nomuntu efonini in terms of i-service, asivumeli loo nto, ayikho semthethweni loo nto. I-customer inelungelo lokuthi ifake i-complaint. Imele ibuze ukuthi ngikhuluma nabani, ngitsho ukuthi uSimphiwe Madikizela, uthatha igama lami phansi, yabona i-customer, and ureport ukuthi, and i-call zethu ziyarekhodwa. So makukhuluma nami efonini ikhona recording. So siyazifumana izikhalazo ezinjalo ukuthi this person were rude kwi-customer, and then sifumana i-complaint. Masifumana i-complaint siya-investigator, siyakwazi umamela i-call, sibone ukuthi no, this was not the way kumele kukhulunywe ngayo, and if lo muntu ufuneka trainwe, we train the people ukuthi we are here to provide a service, yabona. There's no need to abantu babe rude baphathwe kakubi, akho need ye-hostility. I-customer sine relationship right nayo. I-customer sine business siyi-bank because of i-customer. Mangabe i-customer ingekho ngeke sibe ne-business. So i-customer is a very important stakeholder to us as a bank, ukuthi simservice kahle with dignity, with respect, with transparency, young information is explaining over, and we advise them properly, and we allow them time to read documents and to consult before they make a decision. They don't have to be put under pressure. So angithi ayikho into hostility ne asipromote. If ikhona, please report, iza ngaphambili we'll take action, we'll investigate, we'll listen to the call, and then we'll discipline that staff member.
So you haven't heard reports of any hostility?
No, we've heard complaints.
Oh, okay.
We've investigated. Where we found that there's evidence, action has been taken against the staff member. If we need to train them, we train them. If about improve, we can even remove them. Customer facing if they can't deal with customers.
Okay.
Yes.
Kwanda, do you also investigate noma ke nawaphenya ke ma cases la njengalawa hostility ngoba phela hostility ngiyo letawu xosha ama customer ukuthi ke angasayi ebhange kuyokhuluma?
So yeah, definitely. If a service that you received from your bank yakho was bad, then yes, abantu they are allowed to kuza ukuthi bazolodge a complaint. But more than that as well, if umuntu struggling and they're not able to pay their bonds and they have approached a bank yabo and requested for assistance. If the bank, for instance, refuses to assist them and they're not given reasons for that refusal, then they're allowed to come to Tina.
Yeah.
Tina, we will investigate because they are entitled to be given reasons as to why they're being declined. And fortunately, in some matters, those matters, they get to us and then the banks, they open to now negotiate for a settlement. So we've seen those as well. So anyone struggling, they can definitely come to us and then we can have a look to see.
Uma ngabe ke Kwanda mine nelibhange siyehlulana nangabe angakhona ukubhadala ibond for the past 3 months ilibhange vele lithi ke since as a result of non-payment sabayithengisa lendlu yami ngibatshela ukuthi na cha mina ngizoba nemali in the next 2 months ikhona imali engigadzile overseas noma ke ikhona inheritance or whatever the case may be, but in the next 2 months imali ngizoba nayo and then ilibhange ke lihluleke ke ukuthatha lo mbono lo. So are you able to also come in when it comes to that cases like these?
So unfortunately, so yes, we do find instances but unfortunately, until you have a document, for instance, that will support whatever allegation you're imali, then yes, the bank, then we can say, bank, here's information, here's the evidence, consider this and make a decision. But
do you order the banks or you just recommend?
We just make our recommendations, and fortunately, our recommendations are enough for them to, in almost all instances, to agree with them.
Ngoba ke lomunye ke Kwanda utawuthi ke nangabe i-Ombudsman iyehluleka ukuthatha i-action or iyehluleka ukukhipha i-order against libhange, then what's the point of approaching the Ombudsman then?
Again, I think in the over 22 years we've been in existence, like I said, I think we've established good relations with all the banks in South Africa. And like I said, in almost all the recommendations that Eswenzile Kuma Bank, they follow those recommendations. But like I was saying, we find people, for instance, but there is no proof. Unfortunately, we can't force the bank. The bank will sit back and there's nothing to consider because there is no evidence, there's nothing. And Lapo, unfortunately, the bank will decline. But yes, you're right. Commercially, the banks have a discretion to want to either, yes, grant that request, the customer, or refuse it. Solely their discretion. We can't force them. But we can say, bank, here's information, here's the evidence, consider it and come back to us and give us reasons why you're declining it. Then we'll consider those reasons to see whether they're fair or not.
Dr. Matikizela, a defaulting homeowner is at the mercy of creditors, right? So doesn't that open, or maybe subject the homeowner to abuse? Because manje sengisemseni wema-creditors. Lapho ke i-creditors ithi ke sakhala sami sicathulo la.
No, akwenziwa njalo, not necessarily. Zakwenzela umzekelo practical. Ubangaba unamatyala amaninzi, unama-creditors njengoba usitsho, ne? Sinayo nento ekuthiwa i-debt consolidation.
Okay.
Lapho sijonga wonke izikweleti zakho nazo. Mawuza kuthi ne-information and u-transparent ukuthi nesikweleti phana anikhona ubhatala. Imali anikhona uyibhatala kuni imali engaka not leya anikhona ubhatala i-5,000 installment. Ndingakhona ubhatala i-3,000 umzekelo. So siyakwazi ukwenza i-debt consolidation. I-debt consolidation sithathe wonke lamatyala wakho siwahlanganise, ne? Thina siyibhanki sikhokhe kuzo zonke lezi ndawo ubukweleta kuzo, ne? Sivane ukuthi wavala lamatyala pha, you must close those accounts, we settle them, ibalance ibe ngu-0, you close those accounts, then you bhatala installment day 1 ongakhona ukuthi uya afford. Yenye instrument esinayo leyo siyibhanki to help customers. So ayikho into ukuthi because we are owisha, then you are at the mercy of creditors. Remember, kune Consumer Protection Act, which protects the rights of the consumers. The consumers nama rights nazo. we've got a Bill of Rights in this country. We've got a constitution in this country, which we also have legislations and bodies that regulate us. Comply. So we don't do as we please because you are owing us. There's nothing like that. If we do treat Waranjalo, that's not the way things must be. And they've got a right to come forward and complain. TCF, treating customer fairly. If not treating you fairly, we have to then do right by you.
You've made a point that might interest some consumers and homeowners who are going through the same issue in Zabe consolidation. Would say, how does it work?
Yeah.
Do you offer the loan to the consumer for him or her to pay off or settle the debt, or Nina, you settle the debt from your end?
We offer the loan. You have to apply for a debt consolidation as a loan, right, to us. And then when we receive application, we must follow a process here, affordability assessment by law. The National Credit Act, NCA, requires of us to do that. The lending of any loan, we must check affordability. The very loan is on a debt consolidation. Can you qualify for it now?
Okay.
Can you afford it? Will you be able to pay that installment? And say everything. Ne? Installment, you still have a loan to pay. Will you be able to afford that loan? We have to make sure you can afford, because if you can't afford, it's a defaulter, and when you default, again, they have to check NCR, National Credit Regulator, bank, at the time of the loan, did he qualify for the loan? Did he afford? Did you check properly? Nenzila for the build assessment. If you didn't, then you are reckless in lending, and the bank can get a fine, and the bank can actually even lose the license. That's how serious it is in the regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's leave it there for now, gentlemen. Let's take another commercial break. We'll be right back. Yilungelo Lakho. Ngasanyakade. Welcome back, everybody. We're still discussing instances of foreclosure. Foreclosure isikhathi lesibi lapho ke libhange selende konke kusitana nemthengi ke lo hluleka ukukhokhela ihome loan yakhe ngenzaba isimo ke lesimatima emakhikhini. Nesamnotho ke lapha even. Tincingo watifresola tivuliwe lapha e-studio ukuthi ngawushayela na uvakale sombono futhi ungaphinza futhi ubute nembuto ungashayela ke u-011 714 0690 noma ke 011 714 0670. Ungasithumela futhi ne-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za or catch us on your social media platforms. Now, Gwanda, let's talk about a typical scenario which was referred to your office and
yeah, so there's been many.
There's so many of them, right?
There's been many.
Yeah.
But I must say, I think the one interesting matter that Sakisatila Ngayo was before the introduction of Rule 46 capital A, so reserve price being set. So we actually were fortunate enough to deal with the matter where a bank sold a house, I think, for 1,000 rands. And that complaint came to an office in late. So in investigating that complaint and getting all the information from the bank in Yilungelo, we actually thought that the sale itself was just unfair. I mean, 1,000 rands, then you end up, owing the bank hundreds of thousands of rands, and forgetting security. I mean, that whole house is security for the loan. But if uzotengisa that house for 8,000 rands, then what happens to the security? Renders the security useless and pointless. So in that matter, the bank, we recommended that they write off actually a substantial amount, I think over 500,000 rands, and they actually agreed. I think the customer was also happy and satisfied with the findings yet. So
yes. Before we continue, under what circumstances can a bank write off a debt, or can the Ombudsman office recommend a write-off?
Yes, we actually do recommend write-offs. If we find that, yes, there was a wrongdoing on the part of a bank, then yes, we make a recommendation for them to write off, and then they do write off.
All right.
Yes.
Siyathi-ke Gwanda ukuthi la eSouth Africa kunemthetho thile-ke lothinzana ke namalungelo ebantfu, the right to shelter first and foremost. Asesibekise-ke ntangabe useplazini and then the farm owner evicta abantu, umthetho uthi you should provide alternative accommodation. So in this particular instance, lapho ke libhange selithengisa ke umuti Do the same laws apply? Kuthi-ke ilibhange kumele ke provide alternative accommodation?
Unfortunately, no. So I think before Rule 46 capital A was introduced, and that was one of the debates, but I want to have the right to access to adequate housing.
Yes.
And is Indlu being just repossessed and then sold for about 100 rands, for 10 rands, in some instances 1,000 rands. In one house, I think for 40,000, that was worth 470,000.
Sure.
Then, yes, there was a serious discussion that was had, I mean, even in Parliament, discussions, politicians, even judges. That's when then the Rule 46 capital A was introduced to say, but we need to be mindful, these houses, especially primary residents, where uhlala khona ne-family yakho, but there is families that are staying there. And to just balance, it is again a balancing act. I mean, there is a contract that says the banks legally they are allowed to sell, and then yes, there is that right to housing in Yilungelo that must be considered. But at the end of the day, it's about following the fair process, which is when now the setting of a reserve price came into effect. It's the judge now that makes that determination as to the reserve price. Previously, remember, a registrar, it wasn't even a judge that decided whether the house should be auctioned or not. It was just a registrar. Now there is a judicial supervision. Each judge has to make that determination, and each judge has to collect enough information from a bank and from a customer to say, customer, provide information as to how much do you think this house should be sold. Bank now, because they're the experts. I mean, they're the ones who know how to value a house. I mean, they offered that loan, knowing what this will be obviously enough security.
Yes.
Should isn't dogu better. So the bank knows. So they definitely should provide all that information for the judge then to make an informed decision as to how much the reserve price should be.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Thanks for raising that point. Let's take another caller, Sinanzoaki from Renfontaine. Sagumude Chelenzoaki, sawubona?
Yebo njani?
Siyaphila kunjani mama?
Sikhona. Nami ngiyengxaki futhi ngijabule ukungena kini. Ngithenge indlu 2019 so ngabhadala kahle. So kwaphela okay ngingathola ilento umsebenzi we-contract yaphela i-contract so khona manje bangithumelela amaletha amaloya ngapha nangapha so ngithole isikorobhonyana so ngicela ukubuza ukuthi bangavuma yini ukuthi banginike esinye isikhathi ukuthi kuze ngikwazi ukulungisa into zami ukuthi beyehlise nemali le engiyibhadala ngoba inama-arrears vele ulungisa into zami.
Okay, Ntswaki, thank you so much for your call. That is a good question. Please tune in to SABC 1 Yilungelo Lakho siyathi ukuthi ke tinintetfu ke tawuphendvula kulo mbuto lokho emva kwaleli khefu mbukeli asasithathe ke likhefu lekugcina siyabuya khona manje ungasanyakade. So umola futhi mbukele sachuma futhi nenkulumo yethu. Now gentlemen, before that break besinanzo lapha eRenfontaine ukhala ngekuthina kwathenga indlu nga2019 ngoba seke kuphela kumsebenzi but ke uyatfola ke uyazama ukutfola ama piece job lapha nalapha and uthi ke utfola ema letter from ema lawyer left right and center. So uyabuta ukuthi ke can she ask the bank, you know, to extend the term or maybe lower the installment?
Yes. Impendulo ngu njengoba bengitsho ukuthi siyakhuthaza ukuthi abantu mabaza bathethe nathi angaze ebhankini yakhe noba yeyiphi ibhanki yakhe makaye kwibhanki yakhe aphathe lezi ncwadi lezi as letters from the lawyers aphathe lezi ncwadi aze nazo ebhankini sizawujonga pha ijonge imeko yakhe ukuthi ithini kwesiphi stage kungenziwa njani accommodate. Masikhumbule ukuthi i-customer yebank iloan ebeyifune ebank yes kunama lawyers manje because uthi ukuthi bazama ucollect imali bangabhatali but still une relationship nathi nebank even i-lawyers ezo the actor on an instruction of the client being the bank in this case. So advice makahambe tomorrow as a bankini yakhe noba yeyiphi na phathe ezancwadi zakhe babone ukuthi bangamncedisa kanjani na.
Okay, sifika njani ke kwanda ku foreclosure? Kumele ukuthi ngize ngiskiphe tinyanga letingaki noma ke ama payments lamangaki kuze ukuthi ilibhange lithathe ke action.
So legally, once you've defaulted, the bank is entitled to take legal action.
Emva kwesikhathi esingakanani?
So I know with my home loans, if for instance, if you're 20 days in arrears or so, then they can send you that 629 letter to say you are in default. If you're struggling to pay, these are your options. You can either go under debt review, or you can go to an Ombud. If you have an issue with your bank, go to an Ombud of your choice, or you can go directly to the bank and enter into a restructure of some form of an arrangement with the bank to pay those areas, to settle those areas. So the 129 letter can be sent 20 days, yes, after your default.
Okay, Dr. Matikela, just briefly, we are out of time. Yini ke kumele ukuthi ke ma-consumers nabathengi nema-owners ke etindlela kumele kubadi?
Into efuneka bayazi ebalulekileyo ukuthi bekhulume ngama-rights earlier on. I-rights zihamba ne-responsibility. Masisibhalansise. Une-right to shelter, that's good. But you also have a loan, an obligation, and a responsibility to pay your debt.
Yes.
So do everything you can to pay your debt. Stick to the agreement oyenzile, ubhatale. Makunenkinga, iza ngaphambili, uthethe nathi early in the process. Sibone ukuthi singahlangabezana njani nawe sikuncede.
All right, Dr. Matikela kanye nawe ke Kwanda Vabaza, great chatting to you gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Bukele ke sifika kanjalo kumaphethelweni ehlelo nethu namhla. Ngicela ngibonge ithi Vakash State ngeke kuba nathi kuze kube manje. Ngiphinde ngibuke kanye nani babukele kuba nathi kuze kube manje. Sihlangane futhi ke ngesikhathi lesitako lapho ke sitobe sinilethela ke lenye ke indzaba etawuthinza wena nemalungelo akho njengemthengi. Mina ke ngisimpiwe Ngcongwane. Thank you so much for watching. The rest of the team says insale kahle. Wishing you a great week ahead. Cheers.
Home